This is question about function. Again, 2025, paper 1, question 2. Apart from the very first part that has to do with calculus, so it will be more for the 6th year. The other two parts are actually good for the 5th year because you're going to have this type of stuff in 5th year. Okay, let's have a look. The function g is defined for x being between 0 and 4 value, and we can see from 0 to 4. Okay. Its graph is shown in the diagram on the right and is made up of two line segments. We can see a straight line, a straight line. Use the graph of g to answer the part B1, 2, and 3. And like I'm saying, the first part, 6 year. State the range of values of x, so that means not x equal, but x greater or less, for which, and what does that mean? Derivative of g, value of derivative of g is greater than 2. So value of derivative of g is greater than 2. Right, okay. Now the problem we are having is that we don't really have the function g. We can create derivative, and what does that mean? Now, value of derivative is as well what? A value of slope. Now, usually we talk about the slope of the tangent because usually we are dealing with a curve. But in this case, actually, I can identify slope here and I can identify slope here. So that means I am looking for the value of the slope that is greater than 2. Okay. Yeah, sure, we have actually great points here. If we are not sure, we can calculate the slope. How do? We pick 2 points. We have a formula in the table. But at the same time, if we have an idea about the value of the slope and how does that affect the line, well, that can help us. Basically, the bigger the value of the slope, that should have double G. The bigger the value of the slope, the steeper the line. So I can see that this is the part where the line is steep. Not steep. This one is steep as well. But this one is steeper. Well, therefore, that's the one that has value of that slope is the bigger number, is greater than 2. So that means for these values of x, because our function is defined from x to 4, therefore we are saying for x being what? Less, so 3 being greater than 3, or x being less or equal 4. Either we write it or we write it as 1. It doesn't actually matter how we put our answer. Both of them would be correct. Yeah. So the bigger the number of the slope, the steeper the line. Okay. Now let's have a look at next part. So that's what I'm saying. This part 2, good for the 5th year. Find the value of. And that's what that means. Take function g, and in place of x, because normally we'll have like that. But that's not what we have here. What we have here is function g, the value of function g when x is 3. So take function g, and in place of x, put value of function g, and value of a function is the value of y. So put the value of the function g when x is 3. That's what it means. So I need to find what is the value of y when x is 3, and then take that value, put that in place of x again in function g, and therefore find the required value of y. Okay, let's have a look at our graph. So again, we take function g, and first thing we need to find the value of y when x is 3. So when x is 3, as you can see it, the value of the function, meaning value of y, is 1. So that basically what that means G1. Yeah. So again, how do I find? I take value of 1 as x, and then I go across to read the value of y. Now, this value here should be 1. Oh, that's not. Let's change that 1/3. So that's what that is equal to. Yeah, and then give your answer in the form of a fraction, 1/3, where a and b belong to n, meaning natural, and both of them are. And then show your work on the graph. That's what that work is, those lines. That first I take x, 3, then find the corresponding value of y, and that value of y go again in place of x, and then I'm finding the value of y again. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. It's not a difficulty of calculation, because not really. The difficulty is in understanding what's given to us. Yeah? So it's more to do with that. Okay, then let's have a look at the next part. The graph of y, gx, is shown again on the diagram below. Draw and label the graph of, what's that? Oops, why is that not showing color? That is inverse function of gx on the same diagram. And here they are telling you where g minus 1 is the inverse function of g. Now, if let's say you are in the exam and you, I don't remember that, they are giving you a hint here. They are saying the graph of this inverse function is the image of the graph of g. So I'm going to draw image of that on the axial symmetry in the line. Now, and then we are saying, what does that mean? Okay, so y equal x, so value of y is the same as value of x, basically, right? That's what it is. So that means 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. So we have a line here, like that, and it is image. Okay, the way it works with image, that basically as if I took that, folded the paper across this line, and then I have a line on the other side. So what I am going to get is this. And that's my g minus 1 of x, the inverse version. However, let's talk a little bit about the inverse version. So, because not always we're going to have the hint like that, isn't it? Inverse graph, what happened is that value of x become the value of y, and value of y becomes the value of x. What does that mean in practice? So especially if we are having a straight line is simple enough, but let's take, for example, this one. Value of x here is 1, and we already identify that the value of y here will be 1/3. So that's what we are saying. That becomes in inverse value of y, and that become in inverse value of x. So that means 1/3 and 1. So therefore it's here. Okay, but I know those points are a little bit more difficult to do that. So what we can do, we can take this point. Value of x here is 3. Value of y here is 1. Therefore, the new point will be value of y will be 3, and value of x will be 1. Yeah? So again, 1 for x, and then 3 for y. So that's the reason why, that's the reason why our function look that way, yeah? The x become y and y become x. That's what inverse function means. How often does inverse function come on the exam? Not that often, does not come up that often on your leaving cert, but yes, now and then it does show up. Understanding of the graph of the function is kind of like the same here. It's a kind of steady element that it keeps showing now every year for the last few years. So something to watch out for.